the DCU. It's off to a terrible start. It hasn't made any money. Everything has actually been a failure, despite the massive campaigns to pretend that James Gunn and the DCU is off to a great start. It's not off to a great start. It's only going to get worse. At least that's my prediction with the evidence at hand, the facts and logic I use. Peacemaker ain't doing that great. It's not. It's not doing great at all. And that stems from the fact that James Gunn doesn't really understand what goes into a superhero show. He understands what makes a niche show. He understands what makes good niche stuff when he sticks to what he's good at, but it doesn't work. His style does not work for the general, for actually the true superhero thing. It works for the campy, weird, very out there stuff where he can fudge with the rules. Okay? It works for that. But it doesn't work for stuff like Superman. And Peacemaker has kind of proven that. Peacemaker Season 2, we're on the penultimate episode. I believe it's tonight. It's either happening tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. I believe it must have happened. I think it must happen tonight or something. I'm trying to remember when we talked about it last time. Point is, Peacemaker Season 2 is almost over. And let's remember, it's the most important thing James Gunn has ever done. Most important thing in the DCU right now. More important than Superman. Because it's tying everything together. So last week we talked about the fact that James Gunn had no problem pushing out Earth X, which is Nazi Earth. No problem doing that. He thinks he's brave and stunning for doing it. He thinks he knows exactly what he did with the dog whistle to those who appreciate his type of work. Where he's calling truth to power that if white people had their way, all people of color would be locked up in camps. That's what James Gunn thinks of that. Oh, there's other stuff. There's other stuff to talk about with that, but that was my takeaway. James Gunn believes that if left to their own devices, the uber right wing, the white people, the white man, will jail and eradicate anything that doesn't look like them for their peaceful, pristine world to happen. That's what he thinks. Thing is, though, he now also thinks that if you don't like his show, you are a racist. Yes, this is a quick snippet from an interview with GQ, and we're going to go to the actual question where this was asked. We're not going to do the whole article. It's a very long article, and we're not here for that. That's more a panel thing if I want to do it there. James Gunn on Peacemaker episode 6. I have a few racists that have called me polarizing, but I'm okay with being polarizing and letting racists fall to the wayside. People have loved this episode the most, so it's exciting. They loved it the most. Let's check the Nielsen's right now. I believe Peacemaker, Jed and I talked about this a week ago. Peacemaker has already been out during this period of time here. Or it just started. Not on overall. Not on original. Which means it's less than Alien Earth at 326. This was the premiere. Jed and I talked about this last week on Roundtable. This was the premiere. It didn't even crack the top 10. So James Gunn, you're telling me everybody loves watching your show. Nobody's watched it from the beginning. Nobody's watching it now. That doesn't stop James Gunn from talking. Let's see the actual question here. I apologize. It's a screenshot. I had to took it from another browser because Chrome kept locking me out of the article for some reason. So it's just a screenshot. But it got what we want here with the question. Sure, this is GQ. Peacemaker has become the flagship show, though. If this is your flagship show, you're in trouble. The next chapter after Superman, and yet it's as weird and specific as it's always been. Does that delight you as much as it delights me? Now, let's talk about the first part of this question before we get to the next part. He has two answers to this that are very revealing. The show delights me, James Gunn. I really do whatever I want with Peacemaker. Oh, yes. And I mean, in one respect, I do whatever I want with anything because I am able to make my own choices and I'm my own boss. What about Peter Safran? I thought he was co-boss. But with Peacemaker, we really let it go. We take chances. We go to places where I think other people are afraid to go. We got a lot of pushback from various sources with the structure on this episode in particular. And we're like, let's just not be bashful about this. Let's just do the story that we want to do. And I don't want to have to pull punches with it. Let's take that statement first right there and take a moment with it, okay? James Gunn basically just said nobody at Warner Discovery tells him what to do. He has no oversight with the DCU. His co-president of DC Studios, Peter Safran, has no power to stop him. James Gunn does what he wants. That means every single thing, every single do you think he meant to do this thing in every movie and TV show to this point, James Gunn did it on purpose. Don't believe his lies when he says, oh, I didn't mean it to reference this. No, he meant it. James Gunn means everything he does. Because remember, James Gunn is a liar. So when he says one thing, he truly means something else. So you see this. That means every piece of trash, every decision to make Superman a cuck, to take away his general agency, to make him an ensemble movie, to make him weak, to make Peacemaker important, to make Peacemaker filled with questionable sexual agenda stuff, to pack it in with the obvious shot that all white people are racist unless you believe James Gunn's ideology that he stands with. Unless you embrace DEI, you're a racist. That is what he is saying. He did it on purpose. Then he says right here, and here's the line, and it's interesting because there hasn't been that sort of, and what does that line mean? And it's interesting because there hasn't been that sort of, then he stops and says, I have a few racists that have called me polarizing, but I'm okay with being polarizing, letting racists fall to the wayside. People have loved this episode the most, so it's exciting. First of all, nobody's loved this episode. This episode was mocked the most because everybody with a brain saw it coming. But I have a few racists. We haven't called you polarizing. We've called you a piece of shit. We've called you a hack. We've called you a loser. We've called you somebody that is out of his depth, trying to run a studio and trying to do more than just the niche superhero stuff that you are. You are talented at, but you're not good at mainstream. We've called you those things. We haven't called you polarizing. I'll call you also a radical ideologue. I will call you that. Because you have to be in order to write an episode that says all white people will eventually become racists, and this is what their world will look like if they're left to their own devices without brave people to push DEI. So there it is. This is James Gunn. This is James Gunn, who also in the same episode, as they talk about here, oh, we ignored Nicholas Holt's cameo in the same episode, have Lex Luthor talking about two supervillains butt effing in the cell next to his every night. This is James Gunn, a degenerate weirdo who will push agenda-driven ideology, but he's going to coat it in quippy jokes and wacky humor. And, oh, shucks, I'm James Gunn. I didn't know I was doing that. He's going to pretend. He's going to pretend hard. And we're going to call him out on it. James Gunn is a liar. James Gunn doesn't care about anybody but James Gunn. And it shows. Now, we got more James Gunn stuff, but I'm going to save that for the roundtable on this weekend. So tune in for that. 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on Sunday. We're done with this for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.